Welcome to a late IHP Show, to our lovely future humans, and to those who are empowered or curious about being empowered. We talked about that today. So, the self empowered people, we have self help for self agents for a reason. They continue to enjoy doing that which is called intelligence, the practices of emotional mental intelligence. So, we get to be the functional child adults who have fun. We don't need political correctness, although we do know what it served, at least when I learned about it. And then we also learned how adaptive child part people work. So the 3D, 4D continue to like to pretend to know how to be grown-ups. We, on the other hand, know that as our planet settles into this lovely 5D consciousness frequency, at least for the 5D mystics, that it's here, Dharma, because thanks to sciences and spirituality, unlocking the truth. Truth is moderation, is always the amazing king of everything, neuroscience, neurobiology. So when you get your body connected, that's why you forgive. And your embodied brain is integrated. So we don't fix and fight and flee. So we don't, again, have the emotional codependent or independency that is of non-differentiated people. So it's not, they're not really independent, but in college, as I told people, I live with family, and even now as a grown woman, people look at me weird sometimes, and I think I'm independent because I'm emotionally, mentally, and physically capable of leading a healthy lifestyle. Yes, fully, versus pretend to lead one just because, that's exactly how it works. When you are a facade, you pretend. On the other hand, when you're not a facade, you know emotional maturity is the most amazing of gifts ever, because you treat life, that miracle of life, like a gift. And whether science or spiritual, it's a miracle, but I'm pro-choice for a reason. You have free will because I'm not God. And those who like to talk about themselves as divinity, they tend to seem to be divisive too, based on what they like and don't like. So they put on pedestals what they like, and then they put in the trash what they don't like, and they tend to make superhero, supervillain monsters out of everything. And that's why I keep on reminding you, Gargamel's in a corner, pretty much grounded in reality. People, we like to know there's stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work. What works, science proves that every person can have that kingdom of God within them, like Jesus pointed out, or the seed of enlightenment, like Sadhguru points out. I know how to tell you how to get there. First, you do not seek mystical experiences, but you seek transformation. Thank you, Sadhguru. So those who need to own their sense of self, become grown-ups, go to Patrick Tian, to Real, they go anywhere and everywhere. Now that they have their child parts all asleep and they can handle them when mine come up, she's great. Now we know how to do what it takes to let's make the world a better place for you and for me and the entire human race, like our ancestors have been doing. So we don't need political correctness, although they teach it. And I learned about it, but I learned about it when I was a kid who thought that it meant something. I'm a grown woman who sees that the only people who really, really want words to have power are the same ones who basically don't have any power of their own, this inner world. So this is the part. If you have power, then you know how to handle anything that comes your way with gloves, might I add, because that's, thanks God, discernment. Discerning equanimous love means that I can stand in the presence of anyone, not flinch 1 inch, and while they think I might be stupid, I think, yes, I'm stupid. Math is really hard. In the meantime, I'm at ease inside my body, because what did you just say? Oh, no, it's not personal. I learned when I was a teenager that it's never personal, and attachment trauma educators inform me I'm dealing with a 0-8-year-old version of someone once they get into their pissy pants. And as a grown woman who does like negotiation, because I studied it, I notice most don't know how to do it effectively at all, because they're completely readable due to their modulated embodiment. Once you learn what's it called, all of basically attachment trauma education, and then you have practice seeing them and spotting them anywhere and everywhere, it becomes fun. Pseudo intellectuals are hilarious. I'm pseudoscience because I know what science is. So as our planet is in the 5D frequency, Akashic record reader here, it's really great. So empowered divine feminines don't get tested. We don't have saga with our twin flames or twin flame. We do have what is called emotional experiences. That's normal. I'm an I, big girls and boys and theys, anyone who's comfortable with emotions is going to be back here. That's called intelligence. So we know how to sit open-heartedly and open-endedly in our thoughts. We don't ruminate, you see? So there's no contempt, self-righteous. I'm going to be able to process the emotion that arises from my heart. I wanted to bond. I'm going to be able to process the anger that arises from my gut. I was going to do something different and I couldn't. I got irritated or whatever it is. The unfair business. Yes, I didn't like what happened. It's unfair this and it's unfair that. I can process that. Then there's what else? The panic attacks for me have given me the most practice with fear and learning how to maintain healthy fear. And as for those who have unhealthy fear of God, it's because they follow those who are from the medieval times, not those who speak the word of truth. Truth is not harsh, unforgiving, and idiotic, while adaptive child part people who are rigid, harsh, unforgiving, and who say in the past, due to their lack of capacity to use two sides of the brain, they also only like what they choose. So when they have a bad decentralizing and the self-experience plus religious ancient textbook, they tend to flip a switch and spread rumors about yoga bringing demons out of you after they tried it. Because that's how it works. Something that yesterday's news told them apparently is what now is valid once they get a nightmare. Instead, I'm thinking, well, really, if you had learned from Peter Levine, who explains muscles, bones, and tissues store trauma charges, and then from more people like Pat Ogden, how non-metabolized emotions and all that trauma stuff keep coming up and playing out, or Patrick Tiahan, who also mentions, the past lives through you, and Bezo van der Kolk, if you will have heard all of them and then thought, wait, there's no monster Lucifer. There's me, there's my body, there's my mind, and there's the first 3 years of life. What did I do for the first 3 years of life? Maybe. So yoga is a portfolio of ventral vagal toning exercises, and meditation supports integration of the brain. But if you have some stuck shit that comes up. So again, I do know who the 4D3D are. They call equanimous people spiritual bypassers. No, we're not the bypassers. We're actually the actively human beings who can say, I feel and think equally, and I don't have to project it, because the world is definitely a very interesting place. Unfair. It sounds like you're making an excuse for something, but also, wait a minute. So science has dark matter, dark energy, and we have Thomas Campbell, who talks to us about consciousness. He's a physicist, and he spells out the truth. And it's with love. Then we have neurobiology, neuroscience, who also spells out the truth, like decentralizing of the self. No demons inside anyone. Wait for it, because I'm teasing the people who I don't want here, by the way. That's how Maria works it, so that we can ensure that there's only the smart lover people. Because there's people who like to pretend that they're part of a group. So as long as I make it clear that it's not an unfair world, I'm going to get there in a minute, because we don't suffer life. Emotionally intelligent people and mentally intelligent, at worst we suffer having to master the physical plane, but it's not as bad as you think. Right here, I'm mastering the physical plane. And so when you're an empowered divine feminine, you don't have questions. You're in communion with God. That's why we don't need somebody to tell us what's going on. Our 7th, 8th, 9th, 5th, 14th chakra, you name it, it's all here. And that's the part of why it's not, you don't need a vessel, meaning another person. What you want to understand is, do you own your child parts? If you do, great. Then you have the highest level of spirituality access, because you own all of them. Are they asleep though? And do you forgive people easily? If you don't, then it's okay. You don't have to be here yet. Do not seek mystical experiences. Seek transformation by getting out of any of CPTSD, any of non-bilateral. Get all of that which is suffering first healed, and then say, I want to do it. Not, I want to do it. Or call yourself a Zen master who still has laundry. Now, once you got a window welcome to emotions, great. Now you are one of the 5D. Christ consciousness, it's Christ for forgiveness. So the suffering bit, we don't suffer it because we use two sides of the brain. But the people who do suffer it and who don't like to hear this stuff, that's what I try to make sure you understand. I have compassion. I also am grounded in reality. Love is not about somebody. Love is not an act. Love is the way you are. Till death do you part, sickness and health, richer for poor, better for worse. I can't make you love life. And if you don't love life, it means you don't know how to use your body in the ventral vagal state. So if you don't learn how to harness that which is yours, I don't have a person in front of me yet. I don't have an intelligent one. Intelligence requires your prefrontal. It means you know how to make long-term decisions, and you do cherish health, because otherwise you can't actually do anything to protect anyone. And I already have the roof that might fall over my head. You see what I'm saying? So liar, liar, pants on fire. You want to protect, you want to be a person who contributes, then you get physical, but you need to have the body connected. So there has to be, first of all, emotional, because you're an emotional being first, and your thoughts came on after that 2 year of age. People who don't want to do the work, like Patrick Chan pointed out, they want pats. Authenticity, we don't need no pats. And when we see the ones who do, we don't want to give you a pat. Because that means I can't tell you the truth because you're not a balanced person. You don't know how to handle your charges. You don't know how to handle your prefrontal. You don't know how to get calm when you're upset. And you don't know how to love yourself. We're all the same and equally. And remember, who's God? So when people like to dress up like the divinity thing, this is one difference. I have good Christian Catholic upbringing. So besides the people who are disappointing beyond a shadow of a doubt for a person who was raised right, is I got self-agent, I got mom who taught me how manipulators work, grown-ups, I got good Christian Catholic upbringing, and then I asked the person that I trust very much, I said, so can you explain to me why they've decided to make Reiki bad devil energy, tarot bad devil energy, crystal bad devil energy, reincarnation bad devil? Can you explain to me why they're continuing to make it all divisive? Science explains decentralizing in the self, how for us, and I'm explaining, and as I explain, well, you know, Maria, you just need to accept that, well, we all get rejected. I've talked about demonic possession before, and people look at me like I'm crazy. So we got a person who already feels that because they got called crazy, and I got what you said about demonic possession. I have explanations for it. So you're refuting the explanation of the scientists to allow yourself to continue talking about it with the words demonic possession. It's kind of like epilepsy when it was the wrath of the gods. Are we still calling it that? I don't think so. So when you meet ignorant people who are buying into a story because they chose that they want to use certain words, that's why what political correctness do I need? Who's using it correctly? Because I know how to use it, but I see adaptive child part, they like to just wield their mouths, and then they like to do a lot of other things, which I don't waste my time with. But my point is, empowered people know exactly what commitment and cherishable and miracles are, and then you have a bunch of people who are beautiful and they speak words like these, and you already know that there's a charge, there's the experience. I was talked to like I was a moron, and it's not true. There is demonic possession. Are we competing? So once again, you want to dehumanize human beings, and you want to say your group is a right group versus sciences. Are we doing the competition dance? So it's clear to smart human beings. This doesn't make me say no to my Christian Catholic upbringing. This makes me say, okay, do I have individuals who know how to intellectually? No, obviously I don't. So as my lovely trusted human being is talking to me and not mine, I'm listening attentively. I'm already aware, okay, here's strike number one, meaning you're not at all noticing your bias and that you're deciding to dehumanize people versus understand that there's sciences that explains to you how an embodied brain works. I don't need to explain it to you, I just did. And you just told me that your story is truer than this, like any of bullshit Netflix crap and anyone who's still using the demonic possession stuff to perpetuate lies. Which is why I don't like pop culture in that way. And while I may mix up stories, yes, and confuse shit, I'm not trying to tell you, let me educate you on the data points, although I give you some of the data points. That's why the journalist who said, oh, fantasy is going to teach people about civilizations. No, it's not. It's going to taint it with a bunch of your opinions, and then it's going to make it all pink news, and it's like gossip. So sure, storyteller, great. You taught half-assed truths, and now we have a bunch of people who think they know stuff. Which is why I'm very upset. I paid millions and billions. No, not billions. Anyways, long story short. So I'm getting this explanation, which I'm saying, okay, but still, you know, in the Bible, there was this. There's all these other stuff. What are they, how are they making sense of keeping us divided? I said, the Dalai Lama said, we can all come together. We're all wanting the same thing. Plus, and so I go and explain this. See, Maria, here's the thing. If we let all in, then bad Jojo is going to come in. God doesn't need science, you know? You see what I'm saying? There's only one God. God only needs God. God is God. Did you go to a doctor recently by any chance to get any hip replacement, knee surgery, brain surgery? Science is, God doesn't need it. Nobody said he needs it. Okay, so this is one example of how people completely not fascinating to an intelligent mind. However, I'm not going to insult a human being because I'm not going to be argumentative because I don't prove things. When you're a functional inner child adult, you're not in a conversation to prove things. You can prove it in your homework. Go prove it, or research lab. That's the only place proving works for a person who's empowered, because it's called you are working on it. Other than that, you're not performing in an interaction unless you're proving yourself to someone, which means you're an insecure person. Being yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Subject matters are not for argumentation, because I'm not in a presentation. Don't need to argue my way in and out of something unless I'm so insecure that I'm still a teenage version of myself, which is what all those human beings who like to wield their mouths in certain ways that I spot like a hawk and I laugh at them. So between pseudo-intellectuals, I'm pseudoscience, spiritual bypassers, and whatever, it doesn't matter. If they're not confident with their thoughts and their reading material and just knowing, grounded in reality, like Sam Harris points out, that any of their beliefs can be cherishably falsifiable. So as long as they're going to take offense, and I'm laughing because there's a number of interviews I've seen as someone explains, everyone needs a way to explain stuff to themselves. And so that's just how it works. And this is a science who's talking to spiritual one. Spiritual one didn't like the way they posed it, because like, but you can't, it's not fake. He didn't say fake. He said your brain will make sense of things. So I notice when I get charged, for example, but I don't let the charge speak for me. If somebody says, hey, I'm not saying it that way, I say, okay, cool, hold on. So that's how smart people work, okay? And here's why I'm explaining it, because I don't want any of the ones who think they're smart to be here, because I don't like people who want pats on the back. They're insecure people, and they're not actually doing emotionally intelligent or mentally intelligent practices because they don't want to. So as love and life are a commitment, it's because you cherish it. So while for me pro-choice is because I will respect other people's choices, also you have free will, God gave it to you. Laws exist and we go vote, but above all, I don't like being a hypocrite. So I don't know all of people's journeys. What I do know though is that when you love and when you live, if you're committed, I don't need to make you get up in the morning because you love to wake up in the morning. That's how life works. You want to wake up again and again. So health is a priority. Your thoughts are a priority. Your emotions are a priority, and science has it all figured out. So the fact that these human beings want to say they give an excuse for why they can continue distancing themselves, and the ones who want to be conspiracy theorists, go for it. I don't believe in any of it, because whenever I'm sitting down with anyone who has the capacity to explain to me something, and that doesn't matter to what degree, pseudo-intellectuals are the funniest ones of all. Actually, there's a man who plays Russian roulette, and I was wondering about that man because his voice was so nice and he was so calm and collected, and I'm just like listening to him, but something's off, and I'm like, what is off? What is off? And I fall asleep as he's being interviewed. And when I'm waking up in the nighttime, as I'm like, okay, you fell asleep, you're going to have to watch it again tomorrow, my gut is the only part that is lit. And it's a soft lit. So he's not like in a rage or pent up, no, but that's the only part of him that is lit up. He's not using his prefrontal. In fact, the stuff that comes out of his mouth makes me very well aware from what frequency he's navigating life. It's not positive, no, at all. So what's off is that I got a dogma human being, pseudo-intellectual, who thinks he knows everything. He doesn't, and he's not a badass. He's a dumbass to a person like me, like the human being who said women in the bosom. I don't need your bosom if you're dysregulated. I need a regulating nervous system human being, and it's not because there's a reptilian species. No, it's because there are those who know how to use that which is self-regulation. The scientists know it too. So when someone wants to play the part, a person who is emotionally, mentally, physically mature will know it. A good radar, your amygdala, and your gut will know it if you're a functioner, child, adult. Self-agents know it. Self-empowered people know it. You know who's confused about kindness, love, and neutrality? The only ones who don't actually bother to notice that they're the ones who are doubting humanity and our species overall, and kindness and compassion. It's the ones who say, no compassion, we need to go shaming people. I wonder why you think that whip works. Obviously, you haven't bothered to go and check out all the ones who explain exactly how not only CPTSD doesn't get better if you're not healing, but also how your self-righteous, contemptuous baton passes on to the next. So on the one hand, we have people who like to use fancy words. On the other hand, we have the ones who know how to explain to you. If you're empowered, you know love and you know life, and they're committed because you're committed to you, and they're cherished because you actually do know that you've never walked one day in anybody's footsteps. So you won't judge and cast a stone, which is also what Jesus shares, which is why it's disappointing to a person who was raised by good Christian Catholic upbringing to hear the bullshit excuses and that they want to continue saying yoga brings demons out of you, Reiki is bad energy. It's a competitive. What are you doing? What are you doing except for spreading ignorance and having people be divisive in ways that then bring violence amongst each other, which is ridiculous. So political correctness, what? A guy going up to the Dalai Lama and saying, how dare you smile in the face of the suffering, made me laugh. Did he not study who the Dalai Lama was? He must be stupid. And people who think that I'm too much, I don't know everything either. If somebody tells me you're stupid in a certain way, I'll listen to them and notice it and think about it and go research it, and then I'll say maybe they were right. And then if they were wrong, oh, well, I got an asshole in front of me. I won't take it personally because I'm not a sensitive ego like that. Because if they look away, my confidence isn't eroded. That's how a functional inner child adult works when a grown-up, whoever it is, uses their mouth because they're not powerful. It's just blah, blah. And the minute you have no manners, you've shown me everything. And the minute you want to manipulate and think, I don't notice, you don't know, you can't. Because we're one species. And our nervous system speaks. It's like a guitar string, but I got a good one. And so mine notices when there's something off, something's off. And it's smarter than this doesn't talk. This talks with this. Okay, we'll figure it out. Wait for it. Wait for it. Let it settle. Divine empowered feminines always know how to sit, sometimes not as well, but divine empowered masculines too. And then we get to figure it out. So we get to make the world a better place, pursue living our best life, and that's through our lovely mindset practices, the well-being and wellness ones. And so when it comes to love, we do treat it like life. People are not games. Love is not a game. Life is a game in the sense that we can play with our own emotions in a fun way. Of course, we want to see all of suffering go away, but we need all the grown-ups to be regulating themselves and to be functional or child adults so they can actually know what negotiation means. Meantime, everybody does the best they can, and our 5D collective is expanding. So we're going to be fine because there's smart people out there. And yes, let's make the world a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. And we do know that everything's going to work out, or that's our hope. And, well, it's not only my hope. I've seen cosmic karmic balancing take place. So I do know, and we still have time to see how everything continues to unfold. I'm actually quite curious. And if I didn't read it already, let me just share. Love is not about somebody. Love is not an act. Love is the way you are. And that is what we all are. And as for mystical experiences, we can have them and the transformation. So you can be both mystical, spiritual, mindful, or secular and have a good time as we get to keep meeting up to chit-chat about this lovely mental and emotional practices and just a life of intelligent people and science and spirituality coming together, and also being able to be wrong and being able to be right and being able to be fun and tomato. We'll be back again with more. Have a good one.